And I'm bringing 28 one-on-ones because we baby sons. It's the crimes. And you in the Meadowlands. You in the Meadows, man. And you already know what means. 530. What that means? Well, that boy's a desert baby. Brace yourself. Oh, I'm covered up, man. Happy St. Patrick's Day to y'all, man. But never mind that. I got some banging for y'all. Oh, yeah. This brother right here that I'm finna introduce to you, he be on key when it comes to topics, especially when it concerns our culture. This brother here, he's from California, you know what I mean? And he's gonna give us an insight on what goes on their side of the fence, man. Without further ado, man, MOSE TV, man,
Hey, yo, it's
talk
an
to
honor,
him.
man. Thank you. Greatly appreciate it. For those of you who are not familiar with who I am, my government name is Marcus Crumpton. Uh, my number, I'm K24466 P55994. Those are my two prison numbers. You know what I'm saying? I'm not on Megan's Law. Uh, Giving you a little background history of who I am, and I am from Bakersfield, California. My father was a pillar in the community in Bakersfield, California. Uh, a lot of the things that's happening out here, he's a major impact and a major force in what we trying to do. And my main arterial and goal is to get your kids out the street before you have to see them up under a white sheet. So that's pretty much my introduction to um, who I am. My channel is called MOSE TV Reloaded, and I go over an array of topics. Most of it's news, but I do address concerns in the black community as well, and current events going on all around the world.
Okay. So let me ask you something. Are you born and raised in Bakersfield, California?
I was born and raised in Bakersfield. I was born and raised in East Bakersfield, California,
Oh, okay. Is that
and
right?
I moved to Tennessee in 1999. So I heard the story about you. You met 8 Ball and MJG. Well, not 8 Ball and MJG. You was locked up with 8 Ball. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah, I
8
was
Ball and
locked up.
MJG
I was locked
happened
up
to
with
be.
A ball from A ball at MJG. See, I was in a Shelby Training Center back in 1990. I went twice. I went my first time I think in 1990, and we went to Memphis, and I met him. What you call him had just went home. I had his first single, Gangsta Pat. He had just went home. I had his first single. It was called Lyrics of a PIMP. You know what I mean? I was
Oh,
in Echo
Project Pat.
Dorm, huh?
Project Pat.
No, Gangsta Pat. Gangsta
Oh,
Pat is,
Gangster Pat. Okay, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
Gangster Pat.
no, number one
Yeah,
suspect.
yeah. Okay.
You can't get none. All that. You know what I'm saying? I was in Echo, and A Ball was in Foxtrot. This short. Right, he's short as hell. Look, Eminem looking one. You know what I'm saying? But he's from South Memphis. You see what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And out there, it's North Memphis versus South Memphis.
Yep.
You see,
Yep.
and you got neighborhoods like, Hurt
Orange
Village,
Mound.
Cascadius, Tulane, New Moon Gardens, Orange Mound. You know what I'm saying? Germantown. You know what I mean? So, and I was there when they was first building the pyramid. When Penny Hardaway was playing for Memphis State. You see what I'm saying? So that's why I got a lot of history when it comes to Memphis and Shelby Training Center. But let me ask you a question when it comes to Bakersfield. Um, are you a Crip or Blood?
I'm a Crip from East Bakersfield. At one point in time, all Crips wore one rags, but they got divided into three different sections. You got East Bakersfield, you got South Bakersfield, and you got West Bakersfield. And then you have the Warlord Pyrus. Those are the primary gangs in Bakersfield. And I happen to be from the East Side Bakersfield. But within the East Side Bakersfield, you got six different subsets of the East Bakersfield. And where I'm from is Mid City Crips, 11th Street, and our allies is the Project Crips. But we all East. You know what I'm saying? We don't beef with Hispanics out here. I was going to get to that. Uh, as much as it relates to LA. Bakersfield is a totally different entity than it is in LA. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And that's another thing I wanted to ask you because I know it's different parts of Cali, and like when you go to prison and stuff, do people that's from California, like say, South Central or whatnot, do they look up? Do they like look down upon people that's like from San Bernardino, San Fernando Valley, like Fresno or Bakersfield? Do they have a certain prejudice against people, like where you come from?
A lot of I can't speak for everybody from LA, but the majority of them that I've ran into, they have an inferiority complex, and if you're not from their land, then they're not really messing with you like that. Let me give you a prime example. We have gangster Crips out here, and we have neighborhood Crips out here. But if you elect to mess with somebody from LA and they a gangster Crip, then the Bakersfield car, we not gonna mess with you. You on your own. But if you mess with them, they will embrace you, but they're gonna send you like a crash dummy. You're gonna be the torpedo. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They're not gonna look at you like you. They're not gonna send their homies on the front line. They're gonna send the dudes from Bakersfield, from Fresno, from wherever to go do their dirty work.
Right. And what in your youth, when you were growing up, I mean, do you have any siblings?
Yeah, I have three brothers and I got two sisters.
Yeah, right.
One
So,
of my brothers is
growing up,
currently
would you consider
incarcerated right
yourself
now.
a happy child? Was you, I don't know if you was abused, I know you don't want to put that out there, but did you find yourself, frustrated, angry, or did you grow up in a decent, stable household?
I grew up in a pretty stable household. Yeah, of course, it wasn't. I was raised by a single mother and my grandmother, but my childhood was pretty good. I grew up around gangs in a gang element, and I didn't find anything wrong with that. I didn't know that the mental trauma that it was sending me through until I got incarcerated and I came out of being incarcerated and got free. Then I understand the trauma and the turmoil that it was doing to me and what it did to my psyche.
Okay. Okay. So, okay, so when you were growing up, like when you were in school, were you considered like a hothead? Did you get good grades? What was your schooling like?
Actually, my school, I was pretty cool. I was a smart kid. I didn't give my parents too many problems. I didn't start going to jail until I became, an adult, until I was old enough to, you know, face my own consequences. You know what I'm saying? Until I was old enough to bail out. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't going to juvenile hall, YA camp. I didn't get arrested until I was an adult. I was still doing what I was doing, running in the streets. I just never got caught.
Right. So, you grew up in a decent household. I mean, even though you had a single mother, you had a decent school. So, what led you into the gang lord? I mean, the streets is very seclusive. You can be seclusive in the streets. Was it people in your area that you, since you didn't have no father figure, kind of looked up to that led you that way, or was it just something because a lot of people, just have friends that's in gangs, and then it'd be like guilty by association, so they just go on and join. So how did you end up becoming what you were?
Yeah, that's exactly what transpired. Our role models wasn't Christopher Reeves. Our role models was, the big homies, Big Capone. You know what I'm saying? Big Ed Dog. You know what I'm saying? Big Gangster Rick from Mid City. We seeing motherfuckers roll up in Cadillacs on gold Dayton's, and that's what were emulating. We wanted to be just like that. So I guess it was peer pressure and wanting to be a part of something. I'm the oldest of six kids, so you know I got bullied in school. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna say that drove me to being in the gang, but uh, once I started gang banging, I felt that protection, and I started running around with weapons, and that's pretty much it. I would say peer pressure.
Peer pressure.
I would say peer
That's what a
pressure.
lot of us succumb to, unfortunately. Peer pressure. You know, would you say, as a gangbanger, would you consider yourself a gangbanger or a gang member?
Oh, I was for sure a gang member. It was a lot of dudes that was way intricate, way more deeper into it than I was. But back then, everybody had to participate. Even though you wasn't a gang banger, you still had to put in work. It's not like today's times where people call themselves gangbangers and they ain't never bust on nothing. They ain't never. We was doing everything that the gangbangers did, but I was never. I didn't consider myself a gangbanger because it was people who was putting in way more work than I was, and I'm not gonna sit here and lie. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Was there ever a point in time when you got caught up in this situation, in these streets, man, when you had to say to yourself, how did I survive that? Or it really made you stop, and it probably didn't slow you, slow your roll at that time, but it really made you stop and think like, man, I'm really playing a dangerous game. Can you remember a time in your life you ever got caught up in a situation like that?
Oh man, way too many times. I remember my big homie Don. He sent me. We on the wrong side of town. We ain't supposed to be over here no motherfucking way. He sends me into the store to get some gas, and I think he was testing me. But when I'm getting ready to get out the car, I'm debating when I'm like, bro, like, you know where we at, you know what time it is, you already know. But I'm looking around and wasn't none of them dudes out. It's a ghost town. As soon as I go up off in the stove, Mr. Fast, they come up off in there. They got their colors on. I got my colors on. I'm at the front. I got my dove at the. I'm sliding to the man of the. And here they come. West, where you from? Woo, woo, woo. And they got on me. Something vicious. You know what I'm saying? They whooped my ass in that store. I tore up out of there. You know what I'm saying? And the homie Don had rolled off and left me. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, call
He
episode.
ain't pumped the gas. So yeah, man. I done been on the ass end of being the hydrant. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you the dog, and sometimes you the hydrant. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes we didn't did people bad too.
Right.
So
Let me
that's
ask
what a
you
lot of
something.
people don't understand, man.
What
Uh,
was you
Sometimes you
still?
win, sometimes you lose.
No, say that again. I'm sorry. I interrupted you. Go say that again.
So sometimes you on the ass end of it, and sometimes you're the one dishing out the punishment.
Right. Yeah. So, what is the current state of Bakersfield? Is it still gang infested? Has it simmered down? Is it what is it?
Um, I know that you mentioned click banging, right?
Right.
I think that has infestated the whole United States because it's like that out here, man. You got hybrid gangs of people who would have never been rocking with each other back in the days. Now you might have a Crip, a Blood, and a Sereno making a click out here. You know what I'm saying? You might have a dude from the west side, a dude from the south side. It's all mixed up. They got their own little cliques and little. It's way different than what it used to be back in the days. You know what I'm saying? But it's still
Yeah.
gang infested. What they call gang banging is, I guess, if that's what you call gang banging, yeah, that's what they doing.
It's strange too, huh? You got dudes wearing all red saying, "What's up, cuz?" And dudes wearing all
Exactly,
blue saying, "What's up, blood?" It's
exactly.
weird, ain't it, man?
So you don't
It's
know,
weird, but you know what though? I
and
bet the generation that grew up before us, they used to do it with their hands. That only know how to do it with their hands. That didn't like guns. When we started doing drive-by shootings and knocking each other down in the capacity that we were, I bet it made them step back and go like, man, what the hell? Because out here, I'm gonna tell you something that's funny. The first person to wear skinny jeans was my OGs. They didn't sag. Them dudes would get out, legs look like Q-tips, chest way up here. But they wore their pants on their hip. Those were the fighters. They can run all day. They can do 1,000 pull-ups, and they be running backwards fighting. That's what they do. They group up. They go to each other's neighborhoods and they fight. Well, here we come after Easy E came and Colors came, and we came out with the AKs and stuff, and we put up the boxing game and picked up the bullet game. So the OGs is looking at us like, hold on, man, it ain't that serious like that. But it is that serious because now we got drugs and stuff. You know what I'm saying? We fighting over. And I think that's what really corrupted us as a community out here in Vegas. One thing about us, man, before Colors came out, I can truly say because my father was like at the head of that stuff. I'm not saying gang banging, but when it comes to that fight game, he the face of that out here. So I used to watch my neighborhood where I come from, which is Herbert Durst. They used to go fight the Parus, and it was just straight up fisticuffs. They'll walk to their neighborhood and they'll get down. Or they'll get down with the War Babies, or the Parus will get down with the Playboy Gangsta Crips. But it was all fighting. And I swear to God, when Colors came out, man, what people don't understand about music and about movies is seances and witchcraft. Because from that movie Colors, Crippin', because that was the main characters of the show, the Crips. Although they made the Mexicans come at the end and do what they do, but still, Rocket went out like he still knocked one of them down. But they made the Crips the face of Colors. And now, from that movie, you got Crippin' not just in the United States, you got Grape Street in Japan. So we have to be mindful of what was done to us. That was intentionally done to us. We were programmed to hate each other. MK Ultra is real, man. Whether they use it through music, whether they use it through the media like they are now, which we're gonna get to, or whether they use it through movies. They programmed us to disrespect women. They programmed us to drink malt liquor. They programmed us to clutch on our kahunas, to walk around like, we checking to see if they still there. They put vans in our neighborhood. You know, Ronald Reagan did that. When the freights, you know about the freights? The
Yes.
freights are trains that were appearing in like the black community in Chicago, and they were full of guns. They were appearing in the alleys of California, the train tracks and all that old stuff. And they'd be
Yeah, I
white
did a
vans,
story on
and the
that.
back door just happened to be open, and they get the guns, and that's where the automatic weapons came from. During the Reagan administration is where it was known in Cali as the Fullies. That's when AK-47s and all that entered our neighborhood. That was done on purpose. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I did a video on that on my page, and I got a homeboy named Jody from Bounty Hunter Watts, rest in peace, and he told me that personally they went on a truck on a freight train and they popped it open and they had all type of guns and K's, and so what you mentioning is absolutely factual from a person who actually had some of those guns, and yes, that is uh, how a lot of the automatic weapons got on the streets out here in California. We didn't start fighting, we didn't start shooting out here till the early I say around 93 was when it really got bloody out here, man, when it really got crazy. It was little incidents like in the late 90s, but when Jason Nettles died and Pee Wee and Antoine got killed on Union, man, things turned up out here. Some a kid got killed in the mall out here, so that made national news. But it's I like to talk to people from different states. And I got some brothers in Colorado that I collab with, right? And we didn't know out here in California that it was that bad in other states until DJ Quick came out with that. Finally out the fucking CPT off the other cities that just like Compton. Once that came out, it opened our eyes to other city states that was just as serious as we were about this shit. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Out here in Vegas, or what happened to us, and it happened like in 1988, 89. What they did is they, it's a gang out here. See, when Colors came out, Vegas gangs for the most part were subsiding. They were fighting, but drugs entered the foray around 85. And what happened is the OGs, like I say, the ones that had the hand game, they succumbed to that first, smoking and all that old stuff. So they started to wither away. So another breed of, let's just say, hoodlum was born. And out here, that came with what was known as the Donna Street Crips. See, when Donna Street came out here, which was they really took effect, and I say the 80s, the 88, 87, 88, around there. They really hit the scene. But the same thing that happened in Cali, in Chicago, in Detroit, in the freights, it was a train on down that two cats went and found, and I don't blame them. When they went on there, it was a bunch of guns, and they went on there and they got them. And what happened is now they had weapons other gangs in Vegas didn't have. So what they did is they went on warpath, and so their names was in the news every day. But it was because they got the weapons off their train. That was done on purpose. Banging in Vegas ain't never been the same because that set forth. Listen, man, a whole generation of people my age out here in Vegas. Vegas is too small to be that big. You see, and so many of my people left this earth behind that incident because people had to adjust themselves for what Donna was bringing. These dudes got fullies now, so everybody else had to invest in fullies. Now we wiping each other out, and Vegas ain't big like that. You see? So it's actual neighborhoods out here that's gone, that's wiped out, not because of gentrification, not because of they moved out of town, strictly because of gang banging. And I think something nefarious is going on. And brothers like me, you, and Bobby A, shout out to Imperial Vision. That brother right there, he needs to be in this topic right here. See, this is how we need to start building coalitions instead of letting people like Adam 12 get us together and go against one another. See, that's always been our problem. We let people come into our culture, corrupt our culture, benefit off our culture, and destroy us with our own culture. You see what I'm saying? So
Real talk.
let me get your opinion on something. What do you think we should do as a people to bring light to the fact that it is an unseen hand that's behind what's going on in our community? What do you think we need to do?
I think that we just need to keep hammering it home, and I like what you're doing, what you got going on, and we need to show people and awaken and show that there's another lane, that we don't have to rely on other people. We have just enough. We can have a following like King Solomon if we only trusted one another, and we showed up to each other's platform to show love. You dig what I'm saying? Instead of showing up to a white man's platform and tearing each other down. I was never with that. I'm never for that. You know what I'm saying? And for those brothers who do that, man, shame on y'all, man. You know, uh, Sean Cotton is a black man who has a platform that you can go to. The Art of Dialogue. There's a lot of different platforms that we could be showing them love and helping building them and bringing them up. You know what I'm saying? And trying to help get our kids up out of these streets, man, before we have to go see them up under a white sheet, man. That should be our main goal and ulterior motive moving forward.
Absolutely. Oh, let me ask you something, man, because it was something going on a while ago, and I kind of thought of it because I was talking about Bobby. I mentioned Bobby Yates. What is your take on our music, hip hop? And
Oh man, I'm
hey,
glad
look,
that you mentioned that because I wanted to speak to you about that. I did a couple of videos on that, and I'm pretty sure that you checked it out because you check mine out like I check yours out. But the state of hip hop now is it's dead. Hip hop is dead. People, there's no authenticity in hip hop anymore. Everybody wants to sound the same. Everybody wants to kill, drill, murder, and there's no more feeling in you. You used to feel music. You could feel uh, Busta Rhymes' authenticity, whether you like him or not. He was different. Mystical was different. E40 was different. Even NWA was different. It was like something that you never heard before. But now you turn on the radio, you can't tell the difference between who's who. They all sound the same. If you hear one of them, you've heard it all.
right,
Uh, it's just dead, just like sports. Just like you were saying the other day, man. Just like the food, nothing was the same, man. After COVID, if you ask me, I say after 2020, nothing was the same, man. And
right.
it's on purpose. It was systematically designed to be this way. And then another thing, let me mention this real quick. There's no more money in the music industry anymore. A lot of the people that rap, they doing what we do now. They're coming over here to YouTube and being full-time YouTubers even Ti. He's a comedian now. You dig what I'm saying? So no more money in the music industry. It has sucked all the money off the streets. You can't sell weed, you can't sell blow, you can't sell nothing no more. So, it's systematically designed. Eventually, everything's gonna go to the universal based economy that they got set up. They got autonomous vehicles. I was watching a video the other day of trucks in Austin and Houston driving by themselves. They got robots to deliver food in LA. So they're phasing out the blue collar working. And there's a lot of people, black people, who shame people for being poor, for being broke. Man, we all poor. We all broke. Man, I grew up poor and broke. You can't shame me, homie. You know what I'm saying? But just because you have money don't make you a high value man either. You know what I'm saying? Because look at the Epstein. Look at the Epstein files. All of those people were $1 billion. dudes, man. You know what I'm saying? And they were sex trafficking all of these women. Let me know if I'm going off course, man. I'm just, you know what I'm saying, going off the top of my head, bro. But yeah, as far as the music industry goes, man, it's dead. Hip hop is dead.
I'm gonna tell you something. You're absolutely right, and I'm gonna tell you why. See, during the civil rights movement, one of the most powerful components we had that that kept us afloat when we didn't have nothing but God. We couldn't pick up no guns because the government was against us. They really believed that we were 3/5 of human beings. They had Jim Crow, they had black codes, segregation, and they was really pushing the line. And I'm talking about people like George Wallace over there in Alabama, Bull Connors. I'm talking about people like that. I'm talking about the real haters. See, when that bombing in Birmingham, Alabama happened, and they unalived those four little black girls. We couldn't do nothing. They knew if they went in the street and tried to protest, they'll shoot them down like dogs. So you know what they did? They went to church and they sang and they sung their hearts out. All their anger and their pain, they sung in church. See, what delivered us in the most darkest hours of our existence over here in North America has been our music. Our music was a component that lifted us up. You know, keep hope alive, say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud. See, one thing about that we had, even in the fields during chattel slavery, music. That was one of our most powerful tools, and still to this day, even though it's corrupted, it transcends every culture. Because even the Hispanics, even though they don't want to like it, and I hope you're watching this, y'all trying your best to imitate us. No disrespect, we are great people. I don't blame you, but you try to imitate us. Everybody want to imitate us. They got Japanese, Chinese that's rapping, But what the devil did is he seen, damn, I didn't did everything I could do to these people. I didn't hung them from trees. I didn't burn them at the stake. I didn't done all, but they still. And he thought, what's that sound? Because the devil in the in the religion, he was angry over music too. So he was, what's that sound? What's that? And he realized what kept us together, like on the marches during Selma, Alabama marches. Our music. We walked arm in arm and we sung, keep your eyes on the prize, oh Lord. That's why our music is so powerful. It broke the shackles and the yoke of suffering up for our people. The devil seen that. He said, it's they goddamn music. So what he did is he invaded our music. See, you remember when we used to do the brass monkey? You remember when we was fighting the power? You remember when we was, pro-righteous
The X
teachers? You
Clan,
remember terrorist
yeah,
one?
public
See, we
enemy.
went from that and we went to I don't drink brass monkey, like to get funky. Nickname Easy E, yo, 8-ball junkie. He used that right there, that music that liberated us to captivate us again. That music. See, women stopped being sisters and they became bitchs. Brothers stopped being brothers and you just became another nigga. You see? And then we stopped being black men. We stopped saying loud, I'm black and I'm proud. We started being gangsters. We started throwing up the W, not the fist. That's what happened to us and our music. So now, what does the devil like? Sacrifice. He like young boys. So that's why in 2020, 2019, you had so many rappers that passed away. And that one of us stood up and said, what the hell going on? Imagine if 200 and some rock musicians, country musicians passed away in 1 year. They'll shut down the whole music industry. The feds will be investigating. But since it's little black boys and white boys that want to act black, business is huge because they sacrifice.
Let me
That's why the
let
music today is called demon music.
let me ask you a question if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
What do you think about Lefty Gunplay? You know, salute to Lefty Gunplay for winning his Grammy, right? But Lefty Gunplay was the same artist that said his daughter could never date a black man. But it took a black man to help him win a Grammy. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, You have to understand. And shout out to that individual. You know, it's his culture, man. And one thing about Hispanics, and unfortunately, it's not all of them, but it's the South Siders, man. I mean, we got the same problem out here, and it's getting worse. But it's a racial doctrine of a person that's uneducated, and the same. Listen, the whites and the Hispanics got this thing in prison in California and then out here. It's called the Unholy Alliance. Okay, and Hispanics consider themselves Latin or Latinos or whatever. That falls up under Mussolini, El Duce. See, the Unholy Alliance originated with Mussolini and Hitler. So what the Southsiders did is they took on a racist doctrine. That's why Lefty Gunplay have the views he has. There's no difference from him saying that or a white man saying that. I would let my daughter date a black guy, but then use our music or some form of our arts to accelerate themselves. So, hey, you got blacks that feel the same way about him. I'm just wise enough to know this here, man. I know that Hernan Cortez came from Cuba looking for gold. He came upon the Aztecs. And I know that he's seen that they were a fickle race. And he's seen an opportunity. And he took it. He unalived the males because they were fickle. And he forced himself upon the women. But see, what he bought from him with Cuba were slaves. One of them was Jasper Yanger. See, Jasper Yanger played an important part of the liberation of the Mexicans during the Spaniard War. And he helped them. And in Veracruz, New Mexico, his name is still there. So we have a black culture in Mexico, whether they like it or not. And it was because of our people that they got their liberation from the Spaniards who were conquered by the Moors. You hear me? So
Facts.
when people like him speak, I have to dumb myself down to listen. You see, we not on that page no more because we can't stop a hater from hating. We can't stop a person that's unlearned to think like a person that's evolving every day. We can't expect that. What we can do is focus on our people like they are. They can only imitate us. They can never be us. They can only imitate us. We are the blueprint, okay? And whether they like it or not, and you can look at it scientifically, biologically, we are the blueprint. Everything comes from us. Anything lesser of us is recessive of us. And that's what the scientists say. But now let's turn to the next page because I want to talk about these Epstein files. Now, let me ask you a question. Because, see, this is what black men should be doing. We should be, like King Solomon said, sharpening swords. Men sharpens men just as iron sharpens iron. We shouldn't be talking, you from Cali, I'm from Vegas, pull up. We shouldn't be on that. This is what God wants us here for. And it's going to take people like me and you to make this right. The meek shall inherit the earth. Now they say, this dude right here, he talk too goddamn much. He talk too good. Well, somebody needs to say something. What you
Right.
think about them Epstein files?
Um, Same old soup, just reheated, man. You can't hide anything anymore, man. It's the era of information. This shit been going on since forever, and everybody who even spoke out about it, they were called conspiracy theorists. Um, Trump is guilty of sin, and everybody who is in those files, I believe it wholeheartedly that they did all of those egregious crimes to all these women. There's documentaries. This is documented. Even on Soft White Underbelly, he's interviewing some of the women who were victims who were assaulted. So there's no hiding this. And this is the Epstein war. We'll get into the war in a minute, but I'm trying to stay on course with the Epstein file. But we all know that that's why they're over there in Iran. Heads are going to roll. Cash Patel and their evil regime. All of those dudes are guilty of sin. They need to be arrested immediately. All of those people involved in this need to be arrested. Um, the Trump regime needs to be thrown in the, they need to be put in the wood chipper, man. They need to be put in the wood chipper. These are occultists. These are a part of the Illuminati. These are the people in the higher ups, and a lot of those things that they were doing were occult rituals with these women. They wanted blood. They were killing babies. You know what I'm saying? So, um, what's your thought? What's your take? I'm interested to know how you feel about this.
Well, I agree with you 100%. I'm gonna even go. I'm gonna go further than that. I'm gonna say, you know what? It's so devastating because they got caught redacting 50 files that involve the orange, the orange. Let's just say the orange. Okay, it involves the orange. You know, so they got caught doing that, and it's disturbing stuff up in there, man. But I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna say this shit. That's the reason why, and I said this in my videos that we are at war with Iran. Now it's a distraction. It ain't just a distraction from the Epstein files. See, Trump. See, I'm gonna tell you who's missing in all this. See, and people not paying attention. It's one person who ain't been heard from in a long time, and you couldn't hear Trump without hearing him. See, they didn't make this dude Pete Hedgett, whatever his name is, the Secretary of Defense. See, it's him and Trump now. See, they best buddies now. Every time Trump come out, it's them two. But the person that's missing is the person behind all this. His name is Stephen Miller. Where he at? You see, people need
Also,
to pay attention. This right here, what was done in Iran, was not just done as a distraction. See, when Trump went in there and kidnapped Maduro from Venezuela. See, Venezuela and Cuba, they've been allies since Hugo Chavez and Fidel Castro. Okay? Now, when Hugo Chavez got into it with George Bush Jr., he told him, because he didn't like how he was bombing Iraq, he said, return my gold, to which we had 27 billion tons of Venezuelan gold. He said, I want my gold back. They give him the C word. You know, he ended up sick. They treated him in Cuba. That's why he passed away. See, Venezuela got the biggest oil despots in the world. So, listen, people don't think, ever since Ronald Reagan, the United States have been caught up in a confrontation. When Ronald Reagan was in office, he tried to bomb Gaddafi. He called him the mad dog of the Middle East. He unalived his daughter. He was the one that did that. The Russian Empire was falling, right? When George Bush Sr. come into office, he went up into Iraq first. When Saddam went into Kuwait, when Clinton come into office, he get into it with not just Saddam, he get into it with Slobodan Milosevic over there in Serbia, behind in Kosovo behind the Albanians. You remember that?
yep.
Okay, after Clinton leave office, Bush Jr. come in. We have 9/11. Then we over here in war with Iraq and Afghanistan. Obama come in office. We go to war with Libya. Joe Biden come into office. There's no war. But you know what? Putin decided he go into the Ukraine. So
Obama,
Trump come into
Libya,
office.
and
When Trump was in office the first time,
Somalia.
he tried to bomb Iran and he killed Soleimani. Excuse my French, the Iranian general. But it didn't start no war. They didn't bite. So Biden came in. Putin went into Ukraine. Trump come back in. He picked up where he left off. It's a distraction. It's about oil. Every president got their hand in it. Obama took Muammar Gaddafi's. The Bushes took Saddam's. Russia is we fight them for Syria's because Bashar Assad fled to Russia. Now Trump is trying to take Iran's. He already took Venezuela. It's about oil, and we think we gangsters. Nah, we puppets. See, they keep us distracted with racial stuff. They keep us fighting like roaches over crumbs, especially the blacks and the browns. They treat us like bed bugs, but they knocking down whole nations. They knocking down whole nations. And I think
Now
right
that
now is the
that
perfect
that
time.
China and Russia is involved, where you think this war is headed if China and Russia get involved?
Well, it's like the Bible said about the dragon coming out the east with the crown. Oh yeah, see the dragon. That's China. I think if China and Russia get in a war, I think that North Korea is going to get in the war. You have the largest military in the world with China. You have the fourth largest with North Korea. Then you have Russia. Them alone is enough to be very disturbing now, not to underestimate the United States of America. But at the same time, this world will be over. It will be gone because out of the nuclear countries, which is eight of them, Israel is the only one that don't have to account for their bombs. So they don't sign the it's called the G8 summit. You know, they don't sign that. They don't have to account for their bombs. But everybody with a nuclear bomb goes to the GN summits and stuff like that, right? North Korea ain't in it, but it's like Russia, United States, Great Britain, Australia. You know, everybody with a nuclear bomb. They decide on what a direction of the world goes. So if those three countries get into a war with the United States, of course, our allies is Australia, Great Britain, so on and so forth. Between them two, they have enough bombs to destroy the world 9 times over again. So no one's gonna win that. The only way empires is gonna fall, and all empires die. I don't care who you are. The Russians fell when the Berlin Wall fell. The communists they fell in Russia. Julius Caesar fell. The United States is gonna fall too, just like the Persian Empire fell. And every other empire that came prior to that that went against God's decree is gonna fall, and it's gonna fall from within. America has never been this weak. It has never been this weak. They abruptly letting people get away with crime, with like you say, sex trafficking. It's all a game, and we just an audience watching the show like clowns. But check this
Where's
out,
Netanyahu?
huh?
Where's Netanyahu?
I can't hear you, Brody.
Netanyahu? They say he's missing. Where is he?
Hey, but you got me doing all the talking, man. I don't. I sound like I'm, you know. I mean, let me ask you. I'm finna ask you some questions. Who you think is to blame for this war?
Trump.
Trump? Do you think significance to this war? Do you think that the United States? Do you think that this is really Israel's war?
No, I don't think it's solely Israel's war. I think that the United States plays a role in it because they, like you said, they want that oil, man. They want that oil. They want that uranium. They want all that.
I think this. I think this is. Listen, man. I'm gonna just tell you like this. The United States have a way of what they do is they pit the Muslims against each other. It's no secret. I didn't want to go there, but I'm gonna go there. What's going on right now is you have what is known as a Shiite coalition. You know what Shiaism? See, you have two major factions in the Middle East, okay? Sunni and Shiite. All right? The Ayatollah of Iran is a Shiite Muslim. I'm gonna help you better understand this. Saddam Hussein is a Sunni Muslim. Okay? That's why Saddam hated Iran. Remember, when the first Ayatollah in 1979 came out of exile, and we had the U.S. embassy crisis, right? When Carter was our president, and he sent the Marines over there to rescue the hostage. Is you still there?
I'm still here.
Yeah. Well, the because something happened with your screen. I don't know. But anyway, are you still
I'm still
there?
here, big bro. I'm still
Okay.
here,
But
big
anyway,
bro.
Saddam Hussein, after Carter sent the Marines in there to free the hostages, it went bad. You see? And so the Ayatollah ended up overthrowing the Shah of Iran, who was a puppet of the United States. So what happened is Saddam Hussein ended up invading Iran. That's what started the 10-year war. See, we armed Saddam with the gas that he used on the Kurds, that we went into Iraq when Bush was president over. See, during 1979, when Saddam went into Iran, we gave him the weapons to use against the Iranians because he's a Sunni Muslim. But see, this is the complicated part. When they liberated Iraq, Sunnis ain't nothing but 12% of Iraq. The rest is 70% Shiite. So when they removed Saddam, they made Iran even more powerful. Because although Saddam was the leader of Iraq, he was a Sunni Muslim. And Sunni Muslims only make up 12% of Iraq. 70% of Iraq is Shiite Muslims. So that's why you see people attacking the U.S. bases from within Iraq. Saudi Arabia, that's where people like bin Laden come from. They're Sunni Muslims. They don't like Iran. That's why Iran don't mind bombing Saudi Arabia and other Muslim countries like that, because they Sunnis anyway. And they've been feuding since the death of the Prophet Muhammad. And I'm not getting into that. But that's why they are able to be manipulated in the way they are. Because America can, for instance, with like Kuwait and Saudi Arabia, they form a coalition with them and they go against Iran. So they side with the Sunni Muslims to go against the Shiites. You see? So that's what you see what's going on now, man. For real, for real. They playing them against each other. It's like the government coming and playing the Parus against the Crips because they know they hate each other. They all black folks. Listen, man, let me explain something to you. Okay, look at Iraq right now. You couldn't tell me who's the leader of Iraq. They went for regime change in Iraq too. Tell me who's the leader of Iraq. They went into Libya for regime change. They removed Muammar Gaddafi. Tell me who's the leader of Libya. See, they went into Syria to get rid of Bashar al-Assad. Tell me who's the leader of Syria. Those are 3 of the 5 axes of evil: Iran, Iraq, Syria, Libya, and North Korea. They got Saddam, they got Gaddafi, they got Bashar al-Assad. Now they're working on Iran. The only one next is North Korea. And that's going to be a hard ball because they got nuclear bombs.
I don't think that's with North Korea.
Yeah. Yeah. But, you know, honestly, man, like when you brought up the Illuminati and stuff like that, you right, man. That's what's going on, man. And unfortunately, people like the Rockefellers, you know, the Bilderbergers, the Committee of 300, you know, Council on Foreign Relations, Skulls and Bones, Scrolls and Keys. People like that run this world, man. And even the Black Boule. And that's people like Michael Jordan, Oprah Winfrey, Bill Cosby. You know, they not for us.
Ricky Smiley,
Clarence Thomas, you know, people like that, you know, they don't represent us. They're not for the best interest of us. They use to pacify us, to give us crumbs, to give us feel-good messages like they go be the hope for us getting up out of the current state we in, but we ain't never going nowhere. They just go keep shining. We don't never shine. You see? But like I say, the weak shall inherit the earth. And that's brothers like me and you. And I'm glad I can dialogue with you. You know, I talk a lot. And, you know, I should have been a politician, you know, but I just don't like lying. But I, you know, I'm glad me and brothers like you can come together and talk. Shout out to the Hood Postman, Melly Mel. For anybody that just joining, man, y'all go check out MOSE TV, man. This right here be dropping some heavy topics, man. And we need to get people like Bobby Ye up in here, man. And that's gonna make this even more powerful because it's time that brothers with you know like-minded brothers start coming together, man. Because we got to counterattack what's going on in our communities, man. I'm getting sick, man. Listen, homie, what happened at the Martin Luther King parade in California between the Damus and the Crips? we all should put our head in the dirt, man. Because
Yeah,
I mean, of all the
hey,
days
that's
we use
beautiful, brother.
Martin.
And the same thing happens out here every year in my city, man. We have a Black History Parade out here at the end of it's the last Saturday of the month. And every time, man, it's chaotic, man. And it's like the curse of MLK, because anywhere you go in the United States, why MLK is the worst street in that particular city. You don't want to stop on MLK. I don't care what city, state, town you in America. And why is it like that? You know, my daddy fought tooth and nail to get MLK. MLK out here used to be Lakeview Avenue, and it was the worst street in Bakersfield. So many dead bodies. You can feel it. So many dead bodies on Lakeview. My dad had to talk to, to the King family in order to get that street name changed. You know, and it's not the way it used to be, but why, I always question why Martin Luther King, why was that stigma on Martin Luther King's name, all the great things he did for us in society. And it's like a slap in the face, man. Like you said, that King Day parade, we all should be walk taking a walk of shame for that.
Yeah, and even though he was Black Boule, man. One thing I would say, he said some powerful stuff, man. But toward the end of his life, he said, he thinks he might have led us into a burning house.
To a
But I
burning
think,
house.
yeah, because he Boule. He Boule, man, just like Medgar Evers. Medgar Evers, the NAACP was founded by Mary, what's her name, Mary Overton and Jerry Springham, or whatever. It was founded by Jewish people, but they made Medgar Evers the first president. But it's all Boule, man. My thing is, the most powerful thing Martin Luther King said was that when he said, "I've been to the mountaintop and I've seen the promised land." He said, "Now I might not get there with you, but God allowed me to go to the mountaintop and I seen the promised land." He came right out the Bible. He was talking about when God took Moses up to the mountain and showed him the promised land, but told him he wasn't going to allow him to cross, that he was going to let his brother Aaron go. That's why Martin Luther King said, "Now I might not get there with you, but God took me to the mountaintop and I seen the promised land." See, what he's seen is two brothers like me and you sitting here planting a seed, hopefully, that other brothers will see and pick up. And we can use this to create something better for our people, because the image of our people is disheartening. The condition of our people is disheartening. The way that our women, and for every black man that consider himself a black man out there, we ought to be ashamed of ourselves for how we allow the degradation of our women to continue to be brought forth in society with no bounds. The Sandra Bland's, the Breonna Taylors, we'll ride for everything but our damn self.
Hey, that's real
And that's
talk. And
and that's cold.
I was building with Bobby Ye today, and I want to bring you to this scene. I know you watched the movie Color Purple before, right?
Right.
There's a scene in this movie that I still, you know, can't get over to this day. When Oprah Winfrey and she was arguing with this white lady about the white lady asking her kids to be servants when they got older. And Oprah Winfrey said, "Hell no," right? She got surrounded by a mob of white people, and they eventually ended up hitting her in the face with a gun. But this is the key scene I want to point to. Lawrence Fishburne took the kids. She said, "Get my babies," and he took the kids. Why didn't he stand up and fight? And this is, based on a true story. This is Steven Spielberg fiction, but it's a lot of fact in this. We didn't protect our women. Hence the reason why where we're at today, man. Art imitates life, man. You dig what I'm saying? And I see a lot of this stuff happening today on the streets, man. Black women getting attacked at nail shops and stuff, and brothers not showing up. Like, how did we lose our way? How did we get to this? You dig what I'm saying?
You know what? I'm gonna tell you what was the final nail in the coffin. See, we went through different phases of programming. Okay, polos, malt
Yep, that's my
liquor,
era.
Okay, we went from that phase. Do you see how we kind of gradually we graduated into that grand verbalizer? What time is it? We got everybody was wearing X hats
X Clan.
It's ex-clan African, very African. Come and step in Brother's Temple, see what's that. See, we tried to get right back to that because Spike Lee, he came out with Do the Right Thing and all that old stuff. So we tried to get back on our Afrocentric thing. But then we kept going through different phases because the Ghetto Boys came out and got hot. Then we start doing weird stuff, you know. You know, the music's really, because remember they came out with cricket officer. I want to put your ass up in the car, officer. And that youngster knocked down that state trooper listening to that song. You see? Now, honestly, bro, I think that when we went to the pimp phase, big pimping, spread. See, everybody got into the pimping thing. Everybody was popping their collar. Remember that? Outcast, Southern Player Listed, everybody started getting into that pimping thing, man. Everybody was putting them on the blade. We lost all respect for our women. The day we decided to put them on the blade, turn them into prostitutes, tell them to agitate the gravel. These are the same beings that held us down during the civil rights. These are the descendants of the Fannie Lou Hammers, the Shirley Chisholms, the real democratic freedom fighters, the real face of the civil rights movements that fought for the liberation of us. The black women is the reason why we were liberated. People don't get it. They don't get their flowers. And not only do they not get their flowers, we take it a step further. See, they held us down. They wiped our wounds when them white folks bust our heads open. They healed us. They went to jail with us. It was the black women. But you know what we did? We told them, BIT, agitate the gravel. It's pimping with me. You see, hell has no fury like a woman that's scorned.
Like a woman scorned, man.
And what happened is we turned our back on the backbone of our very existence. So we not just disconnected from God, because a woman is God's feminine half. We disconnected from our very being. Because until we do right by her, that's where it got to start. We have to do right by her before we can do right by ourselves. We have to go home. The white man even said it. What's missing is the black man at home.
Yeah,
He needs to
and
be
Lyndon
at home
Baines
with
Johnson.
his woman, not out in the street giving a bitch command. You know the bitch is a dog. You see, that's what we treat our
And,
women like, and we wonder why Hispanics, Asians, and other people frown up at us. Look how we treat our
yeah,
women. And until
exactly.
we do right by them, we go stay in the mud. We need to
And
go
Lyndon
home.
Baines Johnson,
Hmm?
Lyndon B. Johnson implemented this program to where the black man was out of the home. You know, you seen it on Good Times, you know, where they would have him go off a character and leave the house for a few days, but they were implementing like if a woman had Section 8 or she got on welfare that a man had to get out of the home. He that was systematic, it was planned, and yeah, man, Lyndon Baines Johnson was a cold dude, man. Abortions were at an all-time high in the 60s. You dig what I'm saying? And that was due to Planned Parenthood implemented by Lyndon Baines Johnson. He said he'd have these niggers voting Democrat for another 200 years. And he ain't lying. No lies detected.
Yeah, unfortunately for us, a lot of us consider ourselves Democrats, and I'm gonna tell you something. Every law, the 13th, the 14th, and the 15th Amendment of the Constitution was basically, especially the 13th, which means slavery abolished, unless it is used as a punishment to a person convicted of a crime. Then you have the Civil Rights Act, which is the 14th Amendment. Then you have the Voting Rights Act, which is the 15th. See, all three of those apply to us. We had the right black men to vote before women did. You see? So, but everybody that passed those laws were Republicans. Not one Democrat passed a law that benefited us. I mean, you can say, well, Obama passed the second chancellor, man, get the hell up out of here. They ain't already made their money off of imprisoning us. But it was the Republicans that passed all the civil rights acts. That is true. The Democrats, the Dixie Democrats, the Andrew
Dixiecrats.
Jackson Democrats, them the ones, and I'm telling you, now just because they soften their tone, don't mean that them ain't the same people. They just rather pat you on the head and tell you to sit on the couch. They're serious time. You ain't got to get out here and compete in the economy. You ain't got to do that. Just sit at home and wait on your check. That's what the Democrats want you to do. They want you in subsidized housing. I'm telling you the truth. They want y'all in subsidized housing. They don't want the fathers at home. They want y'all to dispute against the rap. They want your son in his feminine ways to go to school, girl. They want all that. The Democrats want that. That's why we have to come up with our own party and we powerful enough to, but we don't want to. Why? Because we can't talk to one another. Why? Because we like talking to at one another. We can't see ourselves excelling. They always putting us against each other. It's always got to be Malcolm against Martin. It's always got to be Sambo against Uncle Tom. It's always got to be North versus West. I mean, East versus West. It's got to be Pac versus Biggie. They always put us against each other. You see? They put Marcus Garvey against W.E.B. Du Bois. They put Frederick Douglass against Booker T. Washington. They always do that, man. They always do. They put us against each other, and we let them. But see, this is why God ain't gonna give us. He not gonna give us no pass. You know why? He gonna say, yeah, y'all was in the wilderness over there for 400 years. Yeah, you was. Yeah, and you know what? You are the children of Israel. You are. You are. Yeah, they did some horrible things. Yeah, I seen it all. God gonna tell us all that. He gonna say, I seen it all. Oh yeah, they did y'all bad. But it was one thing y'all always had. You gonna be like, what? A choice. That's what's going. We always have. See, we got a choice to live like this. We got a choice to do right or wrong. That never left. That choice. See, I got a choice to love or hate my brother. I choose to love you because I used to hate you and I seen what it got me. Because to hate you is to hate myself. And when we realize that, we'll be unstoppable. We ain't got to pick up no gun. We ain't got to do nothing. Because when people see us come together, they go feel it. They go feel it.
Most definitely. That's why, post slavery, they made these laws, these vagrancy laws. See, a lot of people, they don't know their history, you know, so they deem to repeat it, right? These loitering laws, and people standing in front of these liquor stores, you know, it, these loitering laws were made in 1862 post slavery in Virginia, where if you didn't have $5 in your pocket, it was considered a crime, and they can make you indigent serve it. It's still on the books. You can Google it. That's a law that they made for us, man, because they didn't ever want us to get on our feet. They didn't ever want us to assemble. And then when we did assemble in Tulsa, they burned it down, just like they did in Ocoee, Florida, just like they did at Allensworth, California. See, every time we try to establish and get away from them, they had the nerve to burn our cities down to the ground. Then they have the nerve, the audacity, the unmitigated gall to say that they have black fatigue. But these people, these YNs, were created by the government. They created this because when we try to assimilate and get away from them, here they come, putting their dogs on us, hitting us with the water hose, burning our cities down to the ground, hanging us from trees, vigilante street justice. A lot of people don't know what the lynch mob was. The lynch mob was a vigilante street group that would break people out of jail and kill them before they even had the right to have just due process. People don't know.
Absolutely.
They don't know these laws. That's why things keep happening to us, and we're not able to assimilate because we don't even know how to be on code. We can't even come together for one common goal. You got the Hebrew Israelites, you got the Pentecostal church, you got the Boule, you got all of these different organizations, but at the end of the day, all these crackerjacks see us as is another Nia. They don't give a damn about us. They don't care what group or faction that we from. Just like in jail. Mexicans don't care if you a Crip, you a Blood, you a Gerson, you a Northtown, wherever you from. You black, you getting stabbed. And that's a fact.
Right. You're absolutely right on that,
I,
man.
I know I've been asking a lot of questions, bro, but I gotta ask this, man, because it's been on my mind, right? Do
What?
y'all have SNY yards out there, or yards that if somebody go to, if they come back to the streets, they bad, or if they go back to prison, they bad? Can you elaborate on that?
Say that again.
Do you guys have different yards that you can go to that's bad, like 50/50 SNY, PC yards, and are you deemed bad if you come back from one of those yards?
Well, yeah. We have a yard that they send like because it's a PC yard because it's called Love Lock. Out here is different from California. See the difference between Cali and Vegas, and I can only really speak on Vegas, but the difference between Cali and Vegas. See, out here in Vegas, we don't have level 4 yards. We don't have what y'all call really 50/50 yards. We have PC yards, but they're a yard within a yard because the other side of your yard is general population. But one side of the yard is PC, and you can't get near them and get to them or nothing like that. But to have an all PC yard where there's nothing but people that's all bad, nah. They got institutions out here where they can basically hide them type of people. See, out here in Nevada, like if you go to jail, see, they don't care about crip modules, blood modules. They'll put you in a room with a python out here. They don't care. Ain't
Oh,
they
damn.
that type of segregation? It ain't hit out here yet. But Vegas, I'm gonna be honest with you. People got their opinions about, Nevada prisons. A lot of dudes that have been to Folsom, Soledad, Tracy, Chino, they come out here and they think it's like they like, man, this easy. This Camp Happy. You know why? I'm gonna tell you one of the main reasons why. And I know you were speaking on PC, but we have like Love Lock. We don't really have PC yards like that. And I'm gonna tell you something. The structure out here in Vegas, the gang structure, it's not there's not a lot of what you could say constitutions per se. Like you have the Southsiders who's up under a constitution. You might have Kumi that's up under a constitution. You might have a certain branch of the Cali boys, but there's no really constitution. They just all from Cali. You see, it's not really like that out here. Everybody mingle with everybody. It has its ups and its downs. The up part is the blacks are not segregated, meaning that they are not outnumbered by the Hispanics. You see, and the Hispanics don't, and I ain't saying they run Cali yards, but the Hispanics don't run
Uh,
Vegas yards.
they
They
do.
never have. The blacks are
They
more
do.
dominant.
Yeah.
I ain't saying that they're punks.
Hey,
I ain't saying
don't, you're
the
not you're
Hispanics
not
ain't with the
disrespecting.
with the
You're
business.
not saying nothing wrong. They do. They do. You're not saying nothing wrong.
Yeah,
I'm
they
telling.
don't they
I'm
don't they
I'm
don't they
telling
don't they
you,
don't got that. But
they
see, the
do out
reason
here.
why though is because the blacks are not. See, we don't have gangster and hood. There's no gangster cars and hood cars that's really pushing it like that out here. And the South Siders out here in Vegas, they're not aggressive like that in California. Maybe they don't feel the need to. But out here, we never had Hispanic problems like that. We never had all out wars with them, and we never, they wouldn't win. It's more black gangs. The black gangs are more aggressive. The Hispanics are not punk spot. They're not, but they're not aggressive like the California Hispanics. But we don't have PC yards out here like that, man. But I agree with you wholeheartedly in what you're saying. But we don't have PC yards up out here, man.
Oh yeah, for sure. I always just wanted to ask that, man. Um,
Nah, I mean, a lot of Cali boys, they come out here and they say, man, they love it that we still have weights. They love the fact that even though it's controlled now, because it used to be wide open, we can do what we want to do basically. We was camp happy for real, you see. But it's controlled now. They have a level system. But dudes from Cali, they love doing time out here. They can lift weights. It ain't really no Sereno section or no black. We ain't with none of that. They just now started incorporating this the Sereno phone, this the black phones, but the blacks always got two phones, and the Serenos got one and the whites got one. So it's not. You know what I'm getting at?
Yeah, yeah, I got you. I got you loud and
Okay.
clear. Somebody in the comment section said, doesn't Vegas have a lot of Cali hoods that sported over Chicago and hold on type of
Say
hoods
what?
with light cribs? So somebody in the comment section was asking, did Vegas have a lot of Cali hoods?
Yeah, Vegas got. Listen, um, we had the West Coast Crips out here before, but they purged and the Bloods took that over. We had the Rolling 60 Crips. That's one of the earliest gangs out here. They always had a stronghold out here.
Was the
Um,
West Coast Crips a spinoff of the West Coast 80s in San Diego?
yeah, yeah, they're from Dago. We have Paru out here. We have Hard Time Hustler out here. We have um, this we don't. That's it basically. All other games like UCCs, well, we have rolling 50s, but like 40 block, ABM, Donna Street, White Street, the hood out here, the Playboys. Even though we have Playboy gangsters, they Northtown gangsters now. We have Playboy Bloods, which is the original Playboys of Vegas. It was Playboy Bloods, and then it became Playboy Gangster Crips out of regular states, and then they turned to Northtown Gangsters. But most Vegas gangs are Vegas bred. We had one thing, we don't have bounty hunters. We don't have no Chicago. There's no gangster disciples or black disciples out here. They be on the outskirts of what we consider the outskirts of Vegas, like by the Strip, Sierra Vista, on Van Patten, Twain, Swenson, all over there in that area where real hoodlums from Vegas. They don't be over there. But that's where they go. But as far as them establishing a hood, no, there's no bounty hunter hood. There used to be Five Deuce Hoovers, but the Parus ran them out of Berkeley Square. Um, there's no Grape Street Crips. The Cali boys, they mostly integrate when they come out here. They don't really try to start nothing. They integrate because a lot of them consider Vegas just another part of Cali. That's
Yeah,
why a
I
lot
know
of
I do.
Gerson.
When I go out there, I went out there one time visiting, and we stopped at my homeboy's mother-in-law's house, and her boyfriend was telling us we gotta go. That some Cali dude just got killed, and the Vegas dudes was tripping. So we was trying to
Oh, hey,
hightail and get up out of there, man. You know what I'm saying? My cousin had been out there before. He thought that the Gersons was Bloods.
yeah. Well,
That's
I'm gonna be honest with you. It goes down between like the Backstreet Crips came out here, and that probably was the worst war between Vegas and Cali. Is when the Backstreet Crips came out here from Watts, man. These cats right here had the audacity to try to move in the heart of blood turf, like we out here, and that didn't work. I'm not, I was in the joint, so I can't really go there with that. But I say this shit, it is what it is. That didn't work out too well for them. I mean, they did their thing, but them bloods, plus you had the police on them. You know what I mean? It just didn't work out too well for them. And when they went to the penitentiary, you know, hey,
yeah.
it ain't where
I
you
heard
from,
you.
it's
I
where
heard
you
you
at,
go
man.
over
It's just
some of
like
them
a Captain
stories,
Bay
man.
trying to go
It
out
was
there to
bad for
California
them.
and set up shop and end up in Soledad or somewhere. It's gonna probably be all bad, So that's what happened with them. But other than that, Vegas and Cali, Vegas get into it more with Chicago and Detroit than they do with California because it's just I guess some about those cats. They mentality, it's just they hot heads. They think it's theirs and it's that. Wherever they go, man. On King Dave, on King Who, and all that old stuff, man. Look here, man. I don't care if you put it on Burger King. You in Vegas, your body was dead. Real man.
Real talk.
Yeah. And I don't disrespect nobody, but to me, man, I'm at that age where I'm just, I don't tolerate stupid stuff anymore, man. They can tell how thick my glasses is. I don't tolerate stupid stuff. I just look. I'm the type of person. I'm sick of us in this state that we are. I think that we got everything. Look, every guy, listen, man, we are the key to our own liberation. And I know that if we just learn to talk and fall back in love with one another, with our culture, we have to accept some harsh realities that we have, like Malcolm said, been bamboozled. We have. We have to swallow our pride. It's egos that's keeping us apart. We have to start talking to one another, man. Because one point in time in America, all we had was one another. We got to get back to that time, when we
Real
were
talk.
dancing and we were free. We were mentally free. Because that's what's wrong with it. We out here in society, but we caged up in our thoughts and our thinking. Our thinking process is locked and key.
I think the
And I think what we
diaspora
what
as a
we're doing
whole,
right
man,
now.
we having debates over FBA and who's black and who's not, man. It doesn't, like I said, man, it really doesn't matter, uh, because we're black to everybody else around the country, around the globe, you know. So I think that we need to link with our African brothers, our Afro Latino brothers, you know, all over the whole diaspora, you know, the Caribbeans, Jamaica, the Dominicans, everybody that can, they consider black, man. We all need to unite, man. But we got to start at home. We got to start in our communities, man. We got to get our kids out the street, man, before we can see them up under a white sheet, man. That's a cold scenario, and I keep driving that point home because as a father, that's the worst thing that you can imagine. Somebody getting that phone call. I got a son right now who's out here in the streets, man. And my heart hurts every day, man. I can't sleep at night, homie. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like he going down the same path that I went down, man, and I can't do nothing to stop it. He's a grown man now. All I could do is give him advice. You dig what I'm saying? So I'm talking as a concerned parent, and also, as a person who wants to see change.
Well, what you're going through is actually, um, you know, uh, what God did is He held up a mirror in front of you, bro. And what you see yourself going through is the same thing your parents went through with you, your moms went through with you when
Real
you were
talk.
that baby. The fear that you feel now is the same fear, probably double because she's a woman. The fear that you feel and experience is the same thing she has. See, you paying that ultimate price. Because your greatest accomplishment has been infected with the mental disease. It's called menticide that you were once infected with. You see? And that's
Mm.
what people don't understand. And that's why I weep for my people. Because it takes, unfortunately, stuff like this, not what your son going through, but even further, our children to be up under the sheet before we really realize that this is what we want. It's all fun and games. It's he and I until one of them is really under that sheet. Then that loss, that void that can't never be filled. Now they sunk in a place that they can never be pulled up from, man. Now they want to listen. Now they want God. Now they want Jesus. You see? But when you had a chance to live, when you had a chance to teach your kid to live, that choice we was talking about. You see? So
Real
before we
talk,
get
bro.
to that fear you have of your child not coming home, before we get to that, get involved. Listen, if we can put in work for our neighborhoods, the stuff that we done for our neighborhoods, I know you didn't went out your way and did some horrendous stuff. I know I have. And the stuff that we did every day when we woke up to represent what we represent, to go out there and cause destruction. Why we can't take that same energy and use it in a constructive manner and get these youth back on track? Look, if we gotta go hard like we went hard at each other, so what? What y'all scared of these youngsters? You better put your foot up in them skinny jeans and tell them to get their behind back up in school. That's what we need to be up on. Them the lines we need to be pushing. Them the narratives we need to be pushing. You
Exactly.
know,
And I believe it starts here, man. It starts with the conversation, man, and trying to get people to have these thought-provoking conversations, man. You dig what I'm saying?
Right.
Coming to the round table with brothers like you and Bobby Ye from Imperial Vision, and coming up with devising a plan. You know, it's too many chiefs and not enough Indians, man. I'm willing to listen and take orders and do what I had to do and be a soldier on the front line for this, man, for our kids. Like you said, we spent all our years doing dirt, you know, fucking our community up. Why can't we spend it in excuse my French, but spend it changing, taking that same energy, man, and making a change.
Absolutely, man. And you know, we go in this in a couple minutes, man. we go next time we dialogue, man. I want to talk a little bit more about a couple things. I want to talk about MK Ultra, which is
Oh, most
mind control.
definitely.
I want to talk about Illuminati in the city. I really want to talk about the devastation that's been done upon us, so our people can get a thorough understanding that, you know, it's a book called, and I hate to say it, it's called "Kill Them Before They Grow." You know, and that was it's about how the government experimental methods that were used. See, what people don't understand, and I'm not going to go on a long rant, but what people don't understand is that in places like Stanford, Harvard, Yale, you have what is known as think tanks. And people that sit in think tanks, they sit there and they decide on, you know, what the future is going to look like 20, 40 years from now. They sit there and they decide what a nuclear fallout will look like. They decide, okay, what if the blacks in Los Angeles rose? What type of collateral damage would they have? See, they already know what's going to happen before it happens. That's what think tanks are. And they think about everything, about what if the Russians attack New York? What would happen? What would be the fallout? Those are think tanks. And what happened to us, they use psychological methods on us, man. Trust me, I was one of them. They drugged me. They used the cabinet on me. They pointed me. They put me in mental institutions. And it wasn't because I was mental. It was because of my behavior. I was violent. They say I was overwrought, fretful, but very street smart. Sound like they were describing Trump to me. But they told
Hmm.
me that's what I was. You
Hmm.
see? And they put me on Whisper Dog, Howl Dog. They had me on Elevator. They had me on all kind of stuff, man. You see what I'm saying? So things, and that's why a lot of our kids, and I don't want to say them words, but they have a lot of problems, man. I'm telling you, it's a lot of things that was done in our communities that people not paying attention to, man. And we go get deep into it because I'm gonna tell people when the first form of bottled water came, when that scientist brought it into our community, he was me and sparkless water making friends. You remember him? With the white hat, the white coat, all white. He was a scientist in a white truck with some water for you. He was letting you know that your tap water wasn't gonna be no good no more, that you gonna have to buy it. You got to buy something that God give you naturally. You know we going to hell. We buying water. Look, man, we gonna end it with this. I love you, bro. When we get together again, we gonna talk about whatever you want to talk about. Well, I want to talk about Illuminati and I want to talk about MK Ultra. I'm gonna leave you with this. And I'm gonna let you say what you need to say. But I'm gonna leave you with this. You had the Phoenicians, the Sumerians, the Egyptians, the Romans, the Persians, hell, the Byzantine Empire. You had all these great empires that rose. And you know, even dating all the way back to Babylon and Nimrod, you had all these empires. And they did the same thing we're doing over here in America. They indulged themselves in the vanity, in the filth of their imperfections. They went against God. They held up gods amongst God. That's what we do over here. You ask a kid, a normal person, to tell you one passage out the Bible, the Quran, or hell, or even the Torah. I bet you they can't, but I bet you they can name a song out of a song out of one of Lil Wayne catalogs. I bet you they know one of Pop verses. You see, We've looked at man as God. Look at how these people kiss Trump's hand. Look at him. Knowing that that man got to sit down and use the bathroom the same way you do. And white piss nasty behind. The same way you do. That's been our greatest Achilles heel. Putting man in his imperfection and his laws, which is common law, up against universal law, which is God's law. And just like those empires that preceded us failed, so shall we. And it's already happening. It is. Look at everything. I don't care if you're a Muslim. Look at what they say will happen on the day of Yom Kippur. If you're a Christian, read Revelations. Wars, and rumors of wars. The son shall turn against the mother shall turn against the daughter shall turn against this. What's going on with it? He's gone. What happened? He's gone. I don't know.